Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as the Lost. You're never really happy to see a daily like this, as the Lost to Mum's Foot, but I'm kinda glad that it did happen, because at least now you can see some of my failures. As everybody knows, the Lost is a character which is already kinda inherently difficult and really variance reliant, and not only are you fighting variance in this particular daily to get as far as possible, to try to get the shovel, to try to get some AWOS runes or whatever, but you're also fighting the RNG of the enemies, because for example, if you're both fighting Krampus, that attack behavior isn't seeded, and obviously depending on what you do, the enemies might rank differently. So what might end up happening is the Krampus might do his spinning brimstone attack on you and end up killing you because that attack is sometimes undodgeable, but he might not do it at all for me, which means I will survive that fight and you won't, and that will put us on some uneven ground. And the fact that I managed to down the 5th floor, but I still managed to rank in the top 7% just goes to tell you and show you how unpredictable this character is. So how can we kind of maximize the chances of getting as far as possible with this one? Obviously the ideal situation would be just to get the respawn item, respawn as someone who actually has some health, and you can either do that by just getting lucky or by using the D4 efficiently. And you can do that as soon as you have enough battery charges, enough items in your inventory, and just start rerolling, and eventually the odds are you're going to get some items which are actually gonna end up saving you. But this has become kind of a difficult situation, because you can see that we have the Guppy Scholar, so whenever we die, now suddenly we have a 50% chance of surviving. Is this better than rerolling into possibly not having Holy Mantle and Guppy Scholar at all? And I would wager that in some situations, of course it depends on the scope of the run, it's actually much better than what you would get by a normal reroll. And there's no guarantee that you're gonna get anything good out of it as well. You might end up with a really weak run after this, and unless you have a lot of battery charges laying around, like I said before, unless you kind of maximize your chances of trying to get that respawn item, this is probably gonna be the safest setup that we're gonna have for the majority of the game, so we must use it and work with it as much as we possibly can. And another part of it is just knowing your limits. If you know that you're maybe not super good of a player, or maybe you know that you're not good at dodging enemies, just don't fight Boss Rush, because Boss Rush is one of those things which is obviously brings you a lot of points, especially on a mom daily like this one. The relative point difference in getting the boss rush or not is really gonna make a difference in the end rank as well. But if you feel like you're not strong enough, if you feel like you're not super good at the game, like I don't feel like I'm super good at the game, so I just wouldn't do it, because that's not the way to maximize your points. It's much safer just go to the next floor and try to get to Womb 2 and Shoal, of course, in this particular case, because we did get the shovel, that was possible, and that way you're just gonna be much more surefire way of getting more points just by going to the next floors, and there's no risk associated with that. So not only are you going to be left in a position where you will get more points on average, but that is also going to leave you in a much safer position, because suddenly instead of fighting the waves of enemy bosses, you're now fighting enemies in a controlled environment where your Holy Mantle refreshes every single room. And because of the situation I described earlier, there really wasn't a good chance for me to use the D4, and I guess I could have done it on this floor because there was a restock machine, and if I used my bombs to kind of reroll into more battery charges and then use those to get a D4 and then sacrifice myself, maybe that would work out, but I just didn't want to go that route. I decided to stick with the blank card first, and then I got a shovel, and then I decided to stick with the shovel. And I figured this run was going to be strong enough at least to carry me to Shoal. Maybe I wouldn't be able to beat Satan, or even the second version of that, but I still felt like I was strong enough in order to get there. And with the shovel, I felt like I had an easy escape way out, so if I ever felt like I was in any danger, I could have used the shovel and just gone down to the next floor and maybe refresh my Holy Mantle that way. Of course, I've done the great mistake of not having enough charges while entering the boss fight here. I felt a bit too cocky, I felt like I'm a bit stronger than I actually was, and I ended up fighting this beast. And what ended up happening as I was fighting him, of course, I was kind of doing well for the first part of the fight, but when I tried to go into the corner, I didn't notice him bounce into me, and because he strategically placed the little corn poops on the ground just besides me, they managed to explode and end up damaging me, and because I didn't notice that I didn't have the Holy Mantle, I didn't even try to dodge them. I figured I would just get through them, go to the other side of the room, and then try to use my offensive punch to kill him while he's in the corner, and I hope that this was gonna be enough for me to actually get through the fight. But of course I ended up dying in the 168th place, which is not too terribly good, but it's not too terribly bad either. Like I said, with any Lost Daily, you have to realize that these are variance filled. I mean, it's not really fair to say whether someone is a really good player or a really bad one just based on one daily. But at least this goes to show that there are ways to fail a daily even if maybe you don't do anything too incorrect. Obviously in this situation I could have picked up the battery charge, gone in with the shovel, even popped my rune to try to get that alt and that would have been a better situation, but I just ended up mismanaging the fight, and that ended up costing me the run. Not too terrible, what can you do? This is Isaac. Sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose, and what's important is that we had fun, and I feel like I did. I feel like this was an enjoyable daily for how long it lasted. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.